Hello and welcome to Maths with Jacob. This lesson will focus on changing the subject. We will often be given a formula where there is one pronumeral on the left-hand side of the formula. This pronumeral is referred to as the subject of the equation. At times, we will be asked to make another pronumeral the subject of the equation. Let's have a look at some examples. Number 1, A equals B plus C. Now from what we've said here, A is the subject because it's by itself on the left-hand side of the equation or the formula. We have to make B the subject. So when we finish, this B has to be on the left-hand side. The first thing we do is try and put B by itself, so we subtract C from both sides. That gives us that line. When we simplify that, we get this line here. Now we can swap the equation around to give us B equals A minus C, because that puts B on the left-hand side, which makes B the subject. Swapping the equation around is perfectly acceptable when you have an equal sign, because if the left-hand side equals the right-hand side, then the right-hand side equals the left-hand side. Right, so that was the right-hand side, so that was the right-hand side. So you can swap them around without any problems whatsoever. Number 2, V equals U plus AT, we make A the subject. In this one here, we have V as the subject. So the first thing we do, we remove this U. So subtract U from both sides, which gives us this line. When we simplify that line, we end up with this one. To remove the T, you divide both sides by T. That gives us this line. If the two T's cancel, that gives us here, and then we swap the equations around to have A on the left-hand side, and there we are. We've made A the subject. V squared equals U squared plus 2AS, we're making U the subject. Now, we subtract 2AS from both sides, so we've done that there. When that is simplified, we end up with this line. We swap the equations around to put U on the left-hand side, which gives us this line. Now, because that's U squared, we have to make it U. Remember, to have a subject, you have to have the letter by itself, and the power has to be a 1. So we take the square root of both sides. So if U squared equals that, then U must be plus or minus the square root of those terms there. So that's the answer. U equals plus or minus the square root of V squared minus 2AS. Number 4, quite a complicated little formula here. There it is there, and we make H the subject. So first thing we do, we have to remove this my. So we divide both sides by my, because that's multiplication. So that gives us this line. See, we've divided both sides by my. Now the my's cancel, so that brings us to this line. See, the my's cancelled, they're gone, and here we're left with k over my. Now, we square both sides to remove this square root sign. So that gives us k over my all squared, gives me h over w. Okay, so because we have to make h the subject, we have to remove this w, so we multiply both sides by w. Remember, that'll be w over 1, so the w's cancel, and then we multiply that side by w, and that gives us that part equals h. Now, we want h on the left-hand side, so we just swap the equations around, and that gives us h equals w outside of k over my all squared. So this video has introduced us to the idea of changing the subject. And all we do when we change the subject, we pick the pronumeral that we need to be the subject, and we go through all the processes and the operations to make sure that letter or that pronumeral ends up on the left-hand side.